Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. If you don't know me, I'm Katie Zed. And of course, my beautiful co host Zena is here as always. Her sister Ava is here as well. Dad's at work. So I have a guest today. I'm so excited to introduce you guys to a gentleman that I met via my friend. I guess Osiris is more of a friend, not my friend, but a friend of a friend. He was on Osiris's show, Middle Maga, a couple of weeks ago, and I saw him, heard a little teeny bit of his story, and I thought to myself, I need to dig down further into this man's story. So I'd like to welcome Che to the show. How are you doing?
Good. Can you see me?
We cannot see you,
That's interesting. What
but
is going on here?
we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out why the video is not coming up though. Oh, here we go. Hold on.
Yeah, this is a live show, people. This
Yeah,
happens. This is a live
I
show
think we
from
should
my
be all
house.
right. I think we should be all right now. Hopefully it's coming. It looks like it's coming on. But anyways, yeah, I appreciate you having me here. Hopefully I'll get all the way here.
Either way, we can hear you, so that's good.
Okay. Okay.
If you can get your camera working, that's great. If not, that's fine too. I know a lot of people just listen to my show, so this won't affect them at all. So I did see you on Middle Maga's show a couple of weeks ago, and the thing that caught my attention, I had missed the beginning of that show, but at the end, I heard you speaking about the work that you do in your community, and that's what really sparked my attention because I have talked to a couple other people who have spent time in prison, and they have the same idea or are doing similar things as you, but before we get to that, I want to get to know you a little bit. So, you grew up in California, is that correct? Uh oh, we might have lost audio too. This is going great. Well, Shay gets his audio and maybe visuals
Can you hear
back.
me
Oh,
now?
now I can.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So, so you grew up
Yeah.
in California. Were you born in California, or did
Yeah,
you just
born
grew up
born
there?
and raised in California. Born and
Yeah,
raised in California. Yeah.
and you were
Los Angeles to
quite
be
the
exact.
athlete.
I played sports since I was a little kid, and
Yeah,
that was my passion. That was what I wanted to do was play sports and be
yeah.
involved in that. And
God
it
had a
didn't.
different path for you.
Yeah, a big a huge different path for me. Things didn't go the way that I wanted it to go,
Mhm.
and when that happened, um, then I just kind of just went into a funk of life and just not really uh, understanding my purpose. My whole purpose was to play sports. 'Cause that's how I felt. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like when I would play sports, and that's what my life would end up going. And then when it didn't go that way, um, I didn't have a purpose. And so when I didn't have a purpose, I gravitated towards people who didn't have a purpose, and we all just sought alternative purposes. And it was in the wrong things. It was in the streets and doing crime.
It's a very easy trap to fall into. Definitely.
Oh, you major trap to fall into. I mean,
Is
it's just it's with the idleness. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Idleness, not having a purpose, not having a direction. When you don't have a purpose and a direction, then any direction becomes your direction. Whatever anybody can bring to the table, and if you're enticed by it, it
Mhm.
becomes your purpose.
What struck me, you have a book that just came out
Hmm.
not too long ago, but one of the things you said in there is that you because you grew up in sports, you were looking for a sense of team, and when the sports thing didn't work out for you,
Hmm.
um, you felt a community or a team in these people with no purpose, basically gangbangers in California.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean that's basically what we were looking for.
Mhm.
We found another purpose, and I really feel like that's one of the main things that is the problem with society these days, especially when it comes to men. We don't understand how men think, and I feel like we gravitate towards team camaraderie. We gravitate towards purpose, toward accomplishing things, conquering things. So
Mhm.
when you play football, you have a team, you have camaraderie, you have people who have a sense of purpose. We want to go conquer, we want to go win, we
Yeah.
want results. And so when you don't have that, then you still want that. Like it's not something that you could just easily eradicate. It's still there. But because you can't, just you can't find a way, an outlet, we kind of create our own. And so you go to people who say, hey, I want that, you want that. We don't say it directly, we say it indirectly through our actions, and that's what it becomes. And it gave me the same, it almost gave me the same sense of fulfillment.
Yeah. So you were convicted of a crime were you 20 when you went to prison? Is that right?
Yeah, I when I was arrested, I just turned 20 years old.
And are you comfortable telling us about we didn't have a chance to chit chat before we went live, but if
Hmm.
I ask you anything you don't want to answer, just say just next question or move along or something
Okay,
like
yeah,
that.
no
But
problem.
but
Yeah,
what did you get arrested for?
attempted murder.
And can you talk about the case at all or how that happened? Did you plead to it?
Yeah, I ended up taking a plea to it. It was it was one of them situations that it just kind of happened spontaneously. You know what I mean?
So it
And
wasn't like a planned thing you were going to do and
no, no, not at all. Not at all. I mean, but that's kind of the nature of this,
Mhm.
right? It's and that's why they convict you, because they say that once you've all committed to this cause, then
Mhm.
anything that happens, it's already pre-planned in a sense. You understand what I'm saying? It's almost like, well, since we've all decided that this is what we're doing, then when we do something, we don't necessarily have to plan it. We've already committed to it. So we kind of like,
Gotcha.
you run into people and things happen and things escalate, and something happens. It turns all bad.
So this was like a rival gang member or something like that that you attempted to murder?
Well, so the way that the law works is you don't have to
Mhm.
necessarily be the shooter. I was there.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I was there. And so, they throw everybody that's there involved. And so yeah,
You get the same charges. Yeah.
but the nature of it was, a rival gang member.
Yeah.
And so,
Okay.
it happens.
Well, I mean, I've spoken to many people, and some of it's drug related. The one gentleman I spoke to you know, was looking to score drugs and ended up at the same charge, attempted murder. And then the one other guy it was more of a self defense situation, but not really. So it was just plain murder, not attempted or whatever. But
Hmm.
uh, in my opinion, from the way he tells the story and from the newspaper articles, it sounded like self-defense to me, but the court and he even doesn't agree with that. So, I'm probably wrong. um, but the court system is funny that way where, you could be asleep in the backseat of a car and that car does a drive-by. It does not, they don't care like that you didn't know what you were
No.
there to do or whatever. It's just you're part of it. And especially with gang related things, I think they go harder just because it's scarier for just society at large to know that there's people out there that just don't they're going to do their thing and it doesn't matter who gets in the way.
And that was the problem with my particular case, is that it didn't happen in a area that was known for gangs.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of
Mm.
it was a really weird it was a really weird and kind of sporadic situation that took place. It was almost like, what are they doing over here? And I think they were probably like, what are they doing over here?
Yeah.
But it is what it is, and it happened. And then it's kind of like, because it's over there, it's more of a big deal. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, for sure. So you went through the system, you pled, and did you serve your whole sentence or did you serve? I know you served 15 years, but was that your whole sentence
No,
or?
the sentence was 17 years 4 months.
Okay.
So I ended up doing 14 years 9 months off of that.
Okay. So you
Yeah.
got a little time off for good behavior, I assume, or?
Well, the way that it starts you off that way. So
Mhm.
the way that they do it, I know a lot of it has changed now in California, but for a violent crime, it was 85%.
Oh, okay.
And then,
I know some states it's like 50%. Like they're letting these violent
yeah,
murderers out in half the in 15 years or something like that, where they've actually like planned in first degree and all not like your situation at all, but it's kind of crazy to me. So 85% seems fair. I don't know. I almost think it'd be better to want to do you think it helps knowing that you get do you behave better in prison if you know you're going to get time off of your sentence? Does that help when you're inside?
That's an interesting question because I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like
Mhm.
I can't really. I never really. I guess I did think about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, you don't. But prison is such a weird place. It's
Mhm.
such a different place. And I always tell people it's a different. You're living in a different world.
Yeah.
So when you're living in a different world, you have to play by that world's rules. So if you're constantly thinking about, well, I don't want to lose time, then there could be other repercussions for that. You
Yeah.
understand? So there was a point in time where um I had gotten into a situation while I was in there, and I almost caught another. I did catch another case. They just didn't pick it up, and then in the prison, I was supposed to lose a year of that time.
Okay.
So what ended up happening is that there was a loophole that I had found on my own, and I caught it, and they had no choice but to restore that time to me. So,
Okay, so what's this loophole? People
well,
want to
but
know.
the loophole is it's really an in custody thing. So it's more like they had a certain they had to serve me or notify me of the new charges within 15 months. I mean,
Okay.
15 months, excuse me, 15 days of them finding out this new evidence. And I was able to put the pieces together. Like I
Mhm.
had information of when they got that information. And then it was 18 days after, and I ended up putting it all together. And I wrote the whole appeal based on that, and they didn't have a choice. They were like, "Oh yeah, you're right."
So
You know what
this is interesting to me. So
I
when
mean?
you commit a crime or whatever in prison,
Hmm.
is there due process like there is when you're not in prison? Is there like a judge and a court case and all of that to where you can present
Video's not
evidence and
working.
get an attorney or something like that? Or is it you're just on your own in there?
It's very different. It's so when it's something to do with an actual crime,
Mhm.
right? So what happens, like, let's say for example, so in my situation, it was a battery on an inmate.
Okay.
And so what happens is that they have, because that is a crime. It's a
Mhm.
crime for anywhere. You can't batter people.
Yeah.
So what happens is that they have the option of referring it to the district attorney, and then
Okay.
the district attorney can pick it up. Now when the district attorney picks it up, you have due process. Everything is the same as if you committed it out here. And so you have all that. But if they don't
Okay.
pick it up and you got to go through the prison system,
Mhm.
the prison can't give you more time than the judge has given you. So only thing that they
Okay.
can really adjudicate is that window that I
That
had.
that 15%. They're holding
Exactly.
that over your
Yeah,
head. Yeah.
exactly. So, and you really don't. That's. I mean, you get dupe. There are certain procedures. Like I said, they had 15 days to serve me the paperwork. They have to allow me to get witnesses and all that type of
Mhm.
stuff. But as far as like the burden of proof is really ridiculous. It's really you're like
Yeah.
you're really not getting, because they
S
don't have no burden of proof basically.
so there's no, like, discovery where they have to hand over everything that they have on it or anything like that to you?
Well, they do have to give you like the paperwork, but they can't tell you, like, let's just say let's say you had confidential information given to you
Mhm.
by other inmates or something like that.
Mhm.
You They don't have to tell you who they are,
Okay.
so
Well, that
anybody can
makes
say anything.
sense. Yeah.
Well, yeah, right. The only time you can find out who they are is if it goes to court,
Okay.
and when it goes to court, they have to show up. So if and that's why a lot of cases don't get picked up, because nobody wants to show up to court. You know what I mean?
I mean, I have heard that snitches get stitches,
Yeah,
so
that's not a good. It's not a good sign. Yeah, it's not a good look.
yeah, especially if you're already in the prison. You don't wanna snitch on
Right.
people
Yeah, that's
in the prison. Um, I guess let's talk about your I wanna let everybody know, let me throw this on the screen, but you do have you can get his book at Amazon.com. It's
mhm.
there, and let me pull this up. It's great for $7.99. I have to say, well priced, and you can get it immediately on your Kindle right now if you go uh, to Amazon.
I'm gonna come out with a paperback, probably shortly. I'll say
Yeah.
that within the next couple of weeks. I'm gonna start putting that together.
So did you start to think about writing the book while you were still in, or is this, I know you've written it since you've been out, but is it something you thought about while you were there, or is it since, do you have a new perspective since you're out?
Well, I have a new perspective since I'm out.
Yeah.
So things have changed a lot as far as my perspective, and that has led to this new book.
Yeah.
But writing books and have been something that I've wanted to do. I actually have manuscripts just sitting around, and I'm gonna eventually get them out.
Yeah,
You
get them
know,
out there.
yeah. So, but this is something that's kind of I actually wanted to do. I wanted to do it all in one book, but
Mhm.
because it was I have a whole series, and I really wrote this in response to a lot of the programs that I see coming, for people that are getting out or already in prison, the
Mhm.
rehabilitational programs. I don't like them. I'm not shy about that. I don't like them. I don't think that they're good for us. I think that they're written and used for an agenda that doesn't benefit the individual. To be honest with you.
So, and you've started, did you start your own program, or are you just working for a program that helps inmates when they
So I was actually approached by the
Okay.
church that I go to. Before I even started going there, I had no idea who they were. They
Okay.
read some articles that I was doing, that the pastor there, DeAntoine Fitz,
Mhm.
and then he reached out to me. Somehow he found me on Facebook, which I'm not even on Facebook. I mean, I'm on there, but I'm like, I don't know how he found me through there. And he did, and he said, I'm doing a program. They were actually in the process of buying transitional housing, and
Okay.
they're going to start housing people. And he was like, I want to put a program for guys, reentry program. Would you help me run it? And I
Yeah.
said, yeah. So we've been doing it for almost 2 years now.
That's amazing, and I love that, I had never really, I guess I just never really thought about it, but, I had never really thought about programs like this, before until recently, maybe in the last year, and it is such a good thing to be doing, not only because it helps the men that you're helping, I'm not, maybe women too, I'm not sure, but not only is it helping these people who have made a mistake in their life and are coming out of that, are trying to be good people, but it's just a net benefit for society as well, which is what I love about it. It's good for everyone, because do we really want people coming out of prison and then not having a choice but to go back to crime, to go back to whatever they were doing, because nobody's going to give them a chance? They can't get a job. They can't find a place to live. Or do we want a society that will rehabilitate and make productive members of society out of people who've made mistakes in their life?
Yeah, I think, but I think most importantly, I think that the burden of rehabilitation should be on us, and
Hmm.
we one of the problems that I have is that because we rely so heavily on the system to rehabilitate us,
Yeah.
right? And the government, I say the system, the government, the prison system, all that type of stuff,
Yep.
that they rehabilitate us. They really don't have an incentive to, everything that you said is great, but it doesn't really benefit them. They benefit more from our demise than anything. So I think it's on us, and that's why I'm more, I like what we're doing, because it has to do, it's us helping us.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I know, my audience knows, and I think I've mentioned it to you, but I was addicted to drugs, and I always noticed that when you have that experience, if I was in a treatment program and all of the counselors have never tried drugs before, it's not going to work. Like, you have to have people who know the experience. So having people like you helping people who are just getting out, showing them that there is a path, there is a way to become, to reconnect with your family and your friends and your community. It just is, it's so much greater than just having some rando like me try to help somebody in that situation. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think it's good for anybody to help, and
Mhm.
whatever you can contribute.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of the things that the parts where I disagree is, I think that we get so a lot of these programs are coming from people that are being educated, right? And they're
Hmm.
educated and they're taught about addiction. They're taught about
Yeah.
criminality. They're taught about gangs, and they're not. They're it's like at the trial you have a gang expert, and he's a police officer. He's not a gang expert. He's a
Yeah.
gang expert for people outside of gangs. You know what I mean? The gang
Exactly.
experts are the people that are in gangs. They're the ones
Exactly.
that know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just think that a lot of times you have these people who are, college educated, and they're in academia, and and the problems that I have with them, and I've tried to do some legit. I mean, I'm not gonna say this what I'm doing is illegitimate, but I mean legit as far as through
Mm.
the system, through the education, and working with these counselors, so to speak. And it's like they're arguing with me. They argue with me like that's not how it works. And I'm like, how are you going to tell me how it works? Like I was there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I know how it's there. I know how the mindset works. I know what's going on. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
to sit there and tell, and so we have a lot of issues with that. And when I listen to their rhetoric, it's almost like, they feel sorry for us. And I'm like, that's the wrong approach to take. These men don't need you to feel sorry for them. We need to
Yeah.
feel empowered. We don't need sympathy,
Yeah.
because we know how to play the game. That's the thing I try to strive to people to understand is like we know how to play the game,
Hmm.
and I know how to tell you what you need to hear in order to get, like, of course I'm going to go to you and say it's terrible, they treat me bad, and you know what I mean, I'm going to
It's
do all that.
exactly like a drug addict. We can tell you what you want to hear for sure. We know exactly what to say.
Of
You
course. And
know,
so
which
it's like
there's probably a lot of crossover, to be honest. You know.
it's the same thing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
We're all it's you're trying to manipulate.
Yeah.
You're trying to manipulate to get your point. So
Hmm.
it's like it's crazy because it's like so many people, like, people don't understand that. And I'm like, no, like when I work with these guys, I know what you're trying to do. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? So don't try to run it on me.
Yeah.
Run it on
Yeah.
somebody else. So
Exactly. So you also are doing you well, I found you on social media as well. You have a pretty big following over there on Instagram. But I didn't even realize you had a Substack until today. And he does have a Substack. I'm going to put the link here in the chat for everybody.
yeah, I appreciate that because I'm trying to build that up because I really enjoy writing, and that's something that
Yeah.
I love doing more than anything, really.
Yep. And I didn't I literally learned about it less than an hour ago, I think. And so I haven't read any of it, but I see Cat Williams is mentioned in the first sentence here, which is a big story that happened recently
Yeah,
with that interview, which is very interesting. So go and you're a very good writer as well. It's very easy. It's an easy read. It's not
thank you.
complicated, and the ideas in your book anyway, I agree with almost 100%. Like we need to get back to men being men, women being women, and getting the government out of it, you know?
Man, really,
So
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Especially when the government is wrong.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Especially when the government is pushing these ideas that are just wrong. Like they're promoting degeneracy
Hmm.
and lifestyles that are just not consistent with nature and reality.
Exactly. Yeah,
And they
I
do it for
agree.
their benefit. They do it to manipulate us, to get us to see their point of view. It's just like I was saying earlier. We know how to say what needs to be said. Like
Mhm.
drug addicts, criminals, we know how to do that. Like I know
Yeah.
how to, like I can see a person who's genuinely trying to help me
Mhm.
and come to work with me, and I can sit there and I can tell you the saddest story in the world. I can tell you about, like, I'm very upfront with this. I didn't have a bad childhood growing up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had two parents, great parents, loving parents. They've been together for 41 years now. Like,
Amazing.
yeah,
Goals.
I didn't have that type of upbringing.
Mhm.
We didn't I wasn't rich, you know what I mean? We've had our struggles, we had things we went through, but we always had each other. I grew up with my grandparents too,
Yeah.
who were married for almost 70 years. Like, so, but I can, if I really wanted I can spin the whole thing and make it sound like it was terrible and make you feel sorry for me. But
Yeah.
all I'm doing then would be manipulating you. And I feel like the government does the same thing to us. They want us to be emotional. They want us to be um
Dependent.
I mean, that's the goal, to
Hmm.
get us dependent on them. And so
Yeah.
that's what ends up happening, is that we get we fall for it. And so it's like, it's one thing if the government was right and was trying to push moral and sound ethical codes of conduct, but they're not. And
Yeah.
that's the problem I have with them.
Yeah. Now, I assume, I mean, I don't know this, but I'm going to ask, do you think that there is a place in government for prisons and for them to be having laws and stuff like that? I assume you're okay with that. Like,
Yeah.
as far as,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
So
mean, yeah.
so there is a place for, you're not complete libertarian where you just want the government, like anarcho whatever.
No, no, no,
Okay,
not
okay.
not at all, not at all.
Just checking.
And even to the sense of where there's a lot of things with libertarians that I think are very out of touch with reality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean,
I
I
some good, like, like, I couldn't even narrow myself down because there's some really great libertarian ideas. Um, really, like, any party, I take little bits and pieces out of all of them. So, for
no,
what
exactly.
I
Yeah, that's
choose.
exactly how I feel too. Like,
Yeah.
I don't, you know, the state is a problem
Mhm.
because we've allowed it to get too big,
Yeah.
and because it's getting too big, um, it's now has gained a sense of power that you cannot come back from.
Yeah.
So that's I think we should be, government should be very limited in our lives.
Mhm.
We shouldn't delegate everything to them. We should be able to work things out. But I do think that we have. I think that our the libertarian kind of, or liberal doctrine of, live and let live. Whatever you
Mhm.
do over there is fine. Just don't let it encroach on me. I think that's very naive,
Yeah.
because your enemies, and there are enemies, there are people that want to get inside here and infiltrate and destroy. They take advantage of that,
Yep.
and they say, well, I mean, you're allowed to do this. Why can't I do that? And then next thing you know, you're in a whole,
Next
you
thing you
got,
know, there's a
yeah.
bunch of pedophiles running around.
I'm
You
just
know?
saying, because
Yeah.
where are we going with this? You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And so that's how I look at it. Like, I don't, like I said, libertarians, I think, are good, are good natured people, but
Mhm.
I just think they're very naive people. I think the world is very is, you have to be kind of, strength rules. And
Mhm.
it's almost like you go back to the prison yard, you go back to the streets, you know, it's like, I'm not a very big person with very big on these, oh, we need to abolish prisons, and we need to, let's be lenient on prisoners. They're not lenient on each other. Trust me, I've been
Yeah.
there. Like, we don't have due process in there. Once we hear something and that's what it goes, and that's what it is. And
Yeah.
so
E
you're not dealing with that type of mindset.
Especially with the pedophiles and things like that. I heard some horror stories from some other people I spoke to, with what happens to people who even are like, even if they didn't actually do the thing with the child, if they're in there for that, then they're living a miserable life while they're in there, you know?
If they're living.
True, true,
I'm
true.
just saying.
Well, I have covered several of those cases where people, um, who are in prison already for life are like, "Well, I got not like, what are they gonna do to me? I'm already here for the rest of my life," and they take out a pedophile or 2 or 3, you know? You know? Um,
Yeah, and the moral of the story is, don't be a pedophile.
don't touch kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly that.
Right.
Um,
And I really wish, I don't know what is going on with, I don't know why my camera didn't come on. You know what the thing is I just saw, like, I really wanted to be on, I have it all set up to be on camera. I revamped my whole setup. I'm in the process of all that. And there was, right before we get on, I'm like, okay, and I realized I don't have Twitter on my laptop, because
oh.
I scrubbed the whole thing. And so that's where you sent me
Oh.
the link, and I'm like, and I was helping my wife take stuff out. She
Yeah, if
was
I had
leaving,
known
and
that, I coulda emailed you. I'm
yeah, I
sorry.
know. But by the time I figured it was already time to go on, and I'm like,
Yeah.
she's planning a wedding for a friend of hers, and I was helping her, and
Yeah.
it's just, if I sat here and told you how many things just went wrong in the last 15 minutes leading up to this, it's
It
crazy.
happens every week
Yeah,
to
man.
me usually. So at least it's not happening to me this time. So
Man,
so you said that this program that you're helping to run or help put together is through a church. What denomination of church is it?
it's a non-denominational church. It's a
Okay.
Christian church, but it's non-denominational.
So just a run of the mill Christian church, and it's interesting that they found you instead of the other way around. You said they found you on Facebook, and they were planning on starting this thing up to anyway. So
Yeah.
were they looking for people? Obviously, right?
Well, I mean, he wanted somebody to help run it
Yeah,
that knew how to run it, or
yeah.
not knew, just kind of had that experience.
Hmm.
So he read some of my articles that I had written, and he was
Hmm.
like, "I need to get in contact." He found out I was in LA, and he reached out to me on Facebook of all, like I said, of all
Yeah.
places. I don't even be on Facebook,
I,
and
if somebody reached out to me on Facebook 6 months ago, I would probably see it like in the next 6 months sometime. So yeah,
that's exactly it. And for some reason, I happened to see it.
yeah.
And then so we've been, it he reached out about 2 years ago.
So you've been,
And
and you said it was just starting up 2 years ago. So you helped get the program on its feet. And how many men do you think? Is it just men, or do you help women too?
it's just men.
Just
Yeah.
men. How many men do you think have gone through, come through the church and used this program? And
Oh wow. Well, right now I think we're up to about, I want to say, men currently living in the homes right now. I think
mhm.
we're up to about, I'm going to say 75, 60 to
Oh
75 right now.
wow, that's a
Right.
lot. That's a
Yeah.
much bigger number than I was expecting to come out of your mouth just now. That's amazing. And I tell me how it works with it. Like if they're on parole, is this like, do you have to have some sort of oversight from the government to run this program, or are these men required to be in a program like yours, or how does all that work?
So it works both ways. So some men are mandated,
Hmm.
court ordered, and what it means is that instead of going to prison or jail, they'll, they can opt. The judge will say, either you go to jail or you go to do a program,
Yeah.
and they go to do the program. Some men are, as a condition of their parole, go and do a program. Some men are there because they have nowhere to go once they get out, so they go there. Some men are there because they were homeless and on
Hmm.
drugs and they want to get sober. So it kind of, you have a very kind of like, eclectic group at times, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But we do it every Saturday. We run it every Saturday from 9:30 to 11 right there at the church in LA. And
And
you
what is
know
it? Is it because I was thinking, like the way you said before, I was thinking it was like some sort of housing. You said it's on Saturdays. Like what does it entail? Like if
so
a
my
man was to show up
yeah.
on a Saturday, what happens?
So you can come to I run the class on Saturday. My
Okay.
class is Saturday from 9:30 to 11. They live in the houses that's owned by the nonprofit and the
Okay.
church. You know what I mean? So, but my class specifically is 9:30 to 11 on Saturdays. If you wanted to come, you can still come to that class if you wanted to. If you don't have to be in the house, but most of the guys are from the house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or the houses, because we got multiple houses now. But yeah, it's right there. And so it's really, I what I really like it is, um it's just a place, man, where we kind of like sit there and talk about issues that are going on in the world. We talk about issues that's going on in our personal lives. We try to relate, and that's my biggest thing when it comes to just anything really, especially
Hmm.
with prison, is make your principles and make your values transferable. Like
Okay.
don't leave them where they're at. Like you might learn certain things at church, or you might learn certain things playing sports, but those things can transfer into other areas of your life.
Hmm.
And you always want to take those with you into different areas and make everything transferable. So when we look at a certain situation that's going on in the world, we try to say, well, how does that relate to us?
Hmm.
How can we use that, what this person did in that situation or didn't do, and how can we make that relate to what we're going through and then use it? And so that's the main thing. And we have really good conversations. Sometimes we go longer. um
Yeah.
I think guys get a lot from it.
I absolutely agree. So it sounds like more of a conversation, like a group meeting, rather than like you're standing in front of a class teaching them A, B, and C.
I can do that though, but I can, but I don't. A lot of times it's just we let it.
You're
We let
They're
it go.
learning from each other as well, though. It sounds like.
What I like to tell them is that you're learning from yourself, and then
Okay.
meaning you already have the answers. And I really truly
Yeah.
believe that just with people in general, like what you're doing.
Mhm.
When something is wrong. But what happens is like your first mind is always, I probably shouldn't inject that into my vein.
Mhm.
But the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth thought are all thoughts that are rationalizing that behavior.
Mhm.
And so we tend to listen to those thoughts as opposed to the first thought.
Yeah.
And so what happens is that when we start to run it back and we start to play, reverse course and
Mhm.
go backwards, you'll wind up to square one at that first thought, and they'll say, see, now doesn't that make more sense?
Yeah.
And then they say, yeah, actually it does. I said, so the answer was you had it the whole time.
Well, what's great about that is then when they're out there on their own and not in the meeting, when they come across situations, or if this is for anybody listening right now, even myself, when you come across a situation where you have to make a choice, you realize that you have it. And you don't need somebody to hold your hand and walk you through life. You got it. You know?
You don't at all. You
Yeah.
don't. You don't. We have the answers, and we have the strength and the willpower to be able to overcome these things,
It's
and
for
we just have to
some,
use it.
especially younger people, I think it's difficult for them to trust themselves enough to do that, but you give them the opportunity to be able to trust themselves,
Yeah, I
you
mean, you
know?
should. Yeah, you should,
Yeah.
because you have the answers. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And not to get too much into because this class is it's not it doesn't it's not from a religious aspect, but if we are looking at it from a religious aspect, and
Mhm.
people like to talk about God, and I trust God, and I said, well, what is that? What does that mean? What does that look like, trusting
Mhm.
God? Well, I trust him. He's going to make everything. Yeah, but God already created you with everything that you need to be able to solve life's
Yeah.
problems. So when I trust and believe in myself, I'm trusted in the faculties that God has created me with. So I need to be able to sit back and say, okay, God, because God's going to look at me and say, I gave you a brain, I gave you hands, I gave you
Yeah.
feet, I gave you eyes. You just sat around waiting for me to do
It's
something. I did
it's
it
like that
already.
that old story about the guy on the roof during the flood where a boat comes by, he's like, "No, God's got me." And a helicopter comes, he's like, "No, God's gonna save me." And then he gets to heaven because he dies in the flood, and God's like, "I sent you a helicopter and a boat. What were you doing?" You
Right.
know?
Right. And
So,
I created people with brains and minds to be able to create something like a boat and a
yep,
helicopter. You know what I
exactly.
mean? And that's the part that I'm like, we gotta really we have a real tendency to be dependent and to believe in everything other than what's actually right there in front of us.
Yeah.
It's weird how human beings are.
Okay, I have a question from the audience. I'll
Mhm.
throw it on screen. It says, do you have a mantra that a mantra that the group shares to start or end meetings?
A mantra,
Yeah.
not really. I'm not going to say I have a like a real mantra. I mean, there's probably a lot of different things that we
I was
talk
gonna say
about.
you got some great quotes in your book, so I
But yeah, maybe we can start with that. I mean, if we buy the book, then
yeah,
email me some suggestions, and maybe we could do it.
yeah.
But there's nothing really that we have, like, that we constantly look at. I mean, I can't really even think of things off the top of my head right
Truth
now. It's just
truth,
like,
one of the ones I have highlighted, I have some notes, is truth and knowledge is found in reality. Um,
hmm
I really like one of your, I guess they're not really chapters, but one of your chapter titles, for lack
hmm
of me remembering what it was called. It's called Gender Side, which I assume that's an original word because I hadn't heard it before. Um,
I
but
think it's a real word.
is
I don't know if I can't take credit for that, because I would like to. I can't remember right now, but I would like to believe that I Googled it first to see if it
okay.
was. But I think it is gender side, and it's interesting.
You should just take credit for that one.
Okay, there it is. There, we can edit that part out. And Che came up with gender side.
Yeah,
Copyright that, trademark.
yeah.
Well, I think
Exactly.
that's true though, but I think there is an agenda
Hmm.
to eradicate masculine masculinity. I'm not going to just say men,
Yeah.
because people get the idea that, oh, they don't like men because why? Because we can we're bigger, we're stronger, we can grow beards. You know what I mean? I don't really think that's the case. I think it's more of the fact of the logic that we bring to the table. They want to keep people more emotional. They want to
Hmm.
keep people illogical and unreasonable and not being able to think through their problems and solve their problems so that they have somewhere to run to when they have a problem.
Yep.
And that's really what it's about. And so, yeah, they would love to have these weak, effeminate, um, emasculated men running around that
Hmm.
are neutered in a sense and can't really be the men that they're supposed to be.
It seems like it's coming to an all new low in recent years. Probably from the time that you went into prison, from the time you got out, the men got like 45% weaker in those years. It's just, it
Yeah.
feels like all of a sudden to me, you know?
Oh yeah. It's a lot. Here's the thing. Like, now that I'm an adult, you know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yeah.
40. I'm 40 years old. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? And so it's like, when I think back, I always say this. I think back. I said, like, man, when I was a kid, adults were adults and kids were kids.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, that's an adult right there. They do
Yeah.
adult things. They have adult responsibilities. They have houses. They have
Hmm.
families. They have car notes. They have bills. They go to sleep on a certain time. They wake up at a certain time. But now it's nothing to see people in their 30s and 40s where they're still living like kids. It's still
Yeah.
like, let's go to the club. You know what I mean? Let's wake up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Hmm.
Let's not go to work. Let's not try hard. Let's not have any ambition.
Yeah.
Let's smoke weed and drink and party all day long. You know what
And
I mean?
on one hand, I kind of understand where kids these days are coming from,
Hmm.
in that there's really no hope of just working hard and saving your money and buying a house when you're 20 or 25
Right.
anymore, without uh, s- going thousands of dollars in debt, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt going to college.
Hmm.
I did not go into debt going to college. Luckily, I was able to have government scholarships. I guess the government paid for my college, but I would not be in the situation that I'm in now without. And what's crazy to me is you can get so much more education from the situation that you went through, or my husband who joined the Marine Corps went through,
Hmm.
as going to 4 years of college. He did 8 years in the military. You did 15 years in a prison. You two are probably smarter beyond belief than somebody who went to 4 years of a state school, who learned how to, what, do you rip bong hits and,
But
funnel a
we can
beer.
we can tell you what a woman is.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly that. Yep.
You know what I mean? I mean, yeah,
Hmm.
but isn't that, wouldn't you look at that whole scenario that you laid out there from the beginning, talking about how, kids these days are not going to be able to afford a house? Wouldn't you
Hmm.
look at that and say, I think there's something to this. I think there's a bigger agenda here.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the plan. I don't know. Like, you know what I'm saying?
It
Like,
it makes them wanna give up. They're like, "Well, I'm never gonna be able to do this anyway, so I might as well just live at home with my mom until, uh, until I inherit this house that she was able to buy." You know?
right. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like there's almost no, it's interesting that you say that, because I actually know, like, I know quite a few people who are like
Yeah.
literally waiting for grandma to die.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
it's like,
crazy.
it's sad. Like,
Mhm.
it's like, oh, she's got a little cough. Maybe it's time.
Oh, no.
But it's like, yeah, I think that's part of the agenda. It's a demoralization thing.
Mhm.
You're demoralizing people. You're getting people to not be able to, there's no hope. Just like
Mhm.
I said, going back in the beginning of this whole show right now, you asked me about, what put me in this situation. I talked about being around people with no purpose
Yeah.
and being around people with no hope. Now, if you can do
Mhm.
that on a mass scale, to now where you're giving everybody no hope and no purpose,
Yeah.
what do you have? You have a whole bunch of people that are looking for answers, and not everybody is going to be what like I even see that as being, something that's been taken away. Like, because I had the background that I grew up with. I grew up with
Mhm.
men in my life. I grew up with my father, my grandfather, my
Yeah.
uncle around, who showed me how to be how to be a man. Um, you know, my way of coping and dealing with the things, it was a little extreme, but I
Mhm.
think it was within the scales of masculinity.
Yeah.
I think what happens now is you see a bunch of men who just lay down, who now trying to not be men. They're trying to be women, or they're trying to lock themselves in a room and play video games all day.
Yeah.
And some of these, I literally see men like this who are like, their schedule is, they go to sleep at 5 in the morning because they're playing video games. They sleep till 3, they get up, go to whatever little, sorry little job that they have,
Mhm.
and come home, drink, smoke weed, and play video games, and just do it over and over again. And it's like they have no hope, no ambition. They don't even they're not even I hate to say it like this, but they're not even man enough to commit a crime. Like they don't even have that in them. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yes.
like
Yep.
so it's like I see a whole agenda going on here. That's what I see.
Yeah. I haven't thought about it that deeply, but I tend to agree, um, in general, you know?
Hmm.
So I read in your book that you studied different religions. We haven't even talked about God yet. We
Oh yes.
you looked into many different religions when you were in prison. What made you land on Christianity? And were you already had your feet firmly planted in Christianity when that church called you?
No. No, you
Okay.
know what? I was raised Christian. My
Okay.
family is Christian, and that's my foundation. That's my upbringing.
Mhm.
Um, I would say the reason why I say Christianity is because it's really the only thing that I've seen work.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be honest. Like, if you look, we have been able to create a great society and a great civilization, and we're losing that greatness, and it all correlates with our adherence to Christian values.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that you can't, that a lot of those values aren't found in other things, but Christianity is what's held it all together.
Yeah.
And the further we get away from that, the further we get away from God, we get away from Christianity, the further we start to adopt other values and principles that are foreign to that and are antithetical to Christianity,
Yeah.
the worse our society gets. You know what I mean?
You can
It's
see it
people,
happening.
man.
Just
It's like,
turn
yeah,
on the 5 o'clock news. You can see it happening.
it all that stuff, other stuff doesn't work. It
Mhm.
just doesn't. I mean, you can say what you want, but it's just not working. You know what I mean? I mean, I studied Islam for a long time. Islam has some great values. It has some great principles,
Mhm.
but it's not working. Not on the scale that I see that Christianity has worked.
Yeah.
It, you know, and that's the thing. Another thing that I have a problem with the libertarians are, we society has to be built on boundaries.
Mhm.
Like we have to be able to sit here and say that's wrong, that's right.
Yeah.
We have to, because it is what it is. It's logic, it's reason, it's there. You cannot do this and you cannot do that. And if we allow that to happen, then our whole society crumbles.
Yeah.
So I mean, if people say, well, you don't want to live in a theocracy, do you? As opposed to what?
Yes, I would rather live in it. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? As opposed to what? As opposed to these gender neutral people running around screaming because you said something to offend, you mispronounce,
Yes. It's
you
crazy.
misgendered them, and you didn't say
Yeah.
the right pronoun. I mean, yeah, man, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's common sense.
Mhm.
So I mean, that's where I landed. I just think that's the only way forward.
We have a couple minutes left. I just want to ask the audience, do you have any questions at all? And I guess that's it. Let me know in the chat if you have any questions for Jay. And is there anything else besides your book and your Substack that you wanted to plug?
I have a YouTube channel, the No Spoon Podcast.
Oop,
I do a live show. Well, I haven't done it in a while. I'm about to get it back up and running. Hopefully, be by the beginning of the month, I'll be a live show once a week.
Yeah, you got to get on a
Yeah,
schedule, even if it's once every other week or once a month.
yeah.
What I
Oh
found
yeah.
out is you got to pick a time and a day and you just got to do it and you got to commit to it because otherwise, like people forget. Like there's just so much content coming at people these days that they forget about you so fast.
Oh man,
You know?
you're not lying. And that's the thing is, I was having trouble with just getting it going, and
Mhm.
computer crash, this happened, that happened, and so many different things happen. And it's like I think I finally have figured out how to fix these problems. And it's
Well, you we're friends on Twitter now, so if you ever have any technical questions, not I might not be able to help you, but I know people who can help you, so I can
oh,
find
okay,
out for
that's
you.
great. Yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, but
you're
follow me on all these different
yeah,
platforms.
the Instagram is very good too. If you guys are an Instagram type of person, definitely check him out on
Yeah, yeah.
Instagram. I enjoyed scrolling your timeline. Is it called the timeline on Instagram? I'm not
I,
sure.
I think so. I
On
think so.
Instagram recently, and definitely on over there on Twitter.
Yeah, I think Instagram is cool, but Instagram, you know, I had it just takes one person to report you, and then all of a sudden you're just like, what happened?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like it went from a whole lot of engagement to just dead real
just nothing
fast.
really. I
Yeah, it
haven't
does.
I always forget Instagram exists, so I forget to post over there, so I haven't run into that. Um, on Twitter though, I mean, not that I would ever open a new Twitter after getting banned. I personally would never do that. I'm a rule follower. I would never do that. But I've had so many Twitters because I get banned all the time.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I Twitter has just been something I have yet to master.
Yeah.
I have a lot. Like, I know it's a lot of like posting and a lot of just like
Yeah.
writing and stuff like that. And as somebody that writes, it's like, why aren't you good at Twitter? It's just like, because when I have a thought, I don't. That's not the first thing I think about is to run to Twitter and put it on. And I'm like, I should put that on Twitter.
Yeah, you have to. That's where you get the
Yeah,
engagement.
yeah,
That's where I mean, I don't think I would have found you. Well, I guess I found you on Middle Mag's podcast. So most people I find to come on my show, it's on Twitter.
yeah. I feel
Someone
like Twitter
posting on
is
Twitter.
more. It's a more. It's a more serious platform, in
Mhm.
my opinion. Like, people are more serious. They have better ideas. Instagram is more kind of like fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of, more entertaining than it is. I get a lot of my content from Twitter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I go to Twitter to find it. That's where people get news from.
Mhm. Oh,
You know?
absolutely. When something is going on in the world, like breaking news, I'm not tuning into CNN or Fox News or I'm putting search terms in Twitter to see people's who's on the ground wherever the thing is happening to find out what's going on. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah.
um it doesn't look like we have any questions coming in. I don't know if maybe somebody else is live right now or nobody's here. So I'm not sure what's happening, but I would like to thank you for coming on. Did you have anything you wanted to add, or is there any questions that I missed that you were wanting to talk about?
Just go ahead and check out the links and stuff that I got going on. I really am apologetic about not having a video on this. You know what I
Next
mean?
time.
Yeah, yeah. Next time, hopefully, I'll be on here again. We have a video,
Yeah.
and I think that might be the reason why some people, people be like, "Well, I can't see the person." You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Um, but that's some of the things that just check out the content. Support it, share it. We got a lot of good things coming up. I'm gonna have some more series of this book coming out soon as well,
I
and I
did
think there's things
I,
people can get from it.
I did just have one question come in. Um, has your ex- um has your program expanded from California, or is it just in California?
It's just in California right now. Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
I
I
mean,
had
but I would love to. Yeah.
I didn't even check Rumble while we were here. We have people on Rumble. I'm so sorry, Rumble. You're over here on this side. I had my notes on this side this time instead, so I messed up. But
Shout out to Rumble.
yeah, we do. We do have people on Rumble, no questions, but we do have a donation on Rumble. So I don't know if you've seen my show before, but what happens when we have a donation on my show is that my dogs get treats. So if you want to stick around for 1 second with me, we will get the dogs over here and we will get them a milk bone. I would like
No,
to
that sounds
thank
good. Yeah, get the dog
Waffle
treats.
Salter for the $25 donation over there on Rumble. You're the best, dude. I appreciate you. Let's get Xena and Ava. There's my co-hosts right there. All right.
It doesn't look like they're getting up.
Thank you. There's one for you. Xena's asleep. There you go, sweetie. They're very happy puppies. They know.
I see, yeah.
From 4 to 5:30 every Sunday. They're like, if I just lay here and look cute, people will give me milk bones. So I just need to lay here and look adorable. They're
There
really
you
good
go.
at it.
Yeah, Grub's a great co-host.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they don't try to take over the show or anything. They just lay back, relax, and
that one
get their
right
treats.
there, the little one's a little bit of a terrorist. I'm not gonna lie. She's only a year old right now, and she's not as good as the sleepy one. She's
Oh,
been
they're both girls?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's been a little terrorizing today while we've been talking. I don't know if you heard her whining in the background, scratching at the door, the whole thing. Very distracting.
Yeah, exactly. I heard her.
Yeah, that's the little one.
Okay. Hey, that's how they are.
Anyway, thank you very much, Waffle Salter. Thank you, Che, for coming on. I appreciate you
for
joining
having me.
me. I loved hearing about your story, and it sucks that you had to go through 15 years in prison to find your path, but I'm so happy for you that you found your path. And I'm so excited that you're helping other people find their path, which I think is the most important thing.
It makes it worth it.
Absolutely.
It does. Yeah.
You have purpose, like you say in your book. You have purpose.
Well, there's nothing better than purpose. And when you live with no purpose, and for the people out there that might find themselves feeling like they're living with no purpose, there's a whole nother side of life that's a whole lot better. And once you find that purpose, man, you're gonna be like, wow, this is I wish I would have found it earlier, but I know that everything works in the right timing, and I'm not gonna complain about it. Just stay in the moment.
Amazing. Amazing words to end on. We will see you all next week at 4:30 Eastern Time. I appreciate you all being here. I appreciate you tuning in, especially to everyone here who's here live, but also to the people who are going to watch this after the fact. We'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
I can't understand what you're saying. We're late stage in the catacombs. Shuffling a single card today. Broken table trying to play some ping pong. It's not subtle when we celebrate a magazine with the pages torn. My body cracks, knees buckling. I got a bad case of brain fog. Said I got a bad case of brain fog. So I'ma take my butt home. So I'ma take my butt home.